Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Emeka Wonye, the founder of the Due Process Advocates Foundation, otherwise known as DPA International. We have several sub-organizations reflecting various programs of DPA. Among such subgroups is known as our Family Law Clinic. Family Law Clinic is intended to address a wide range of issues involving marriages, families, relations, and the law. Because, as you know, every relationship is regulated by one branch of the law or the other. Family law, otherwise called domestic relations law, deals with relationships involving people in marital relationships like husband and wife, their children, and other family members. It's a very unique branch of the law. In our experience in Nigeria, we noticed that there hadn't been adequate attention paid to family relations. Society is behind in terms of articulating the set of laws that will govern marriages or people in marital relationships and family. One of the challenges we encountered in Africa, in Nigeria particularly, about 10 years ago, was to realize that there wasn't adequate protection for family members, especially vulnerable members of the family like women and children. We saw that domestic violence is rampant and that the laws in place were inadequate, and those that existed, the laws that existed, were very poorly enforced. As a result, women were placed in a position of disadvantage. So DPA thought it wise to step in and begin to change that situation. It meant we had to intervene in many cases involving things like domestic violence, abuse of the rights of women, and the essential question of the various forms of marriages and the rights each embodied. So we decided to step in favor of the vulnerable parties, the women. We started by way of education, educating women as to their rights. We have been able to establish very clearly that it is in the interest of women to choose to marry under a legal system that best protects their rights, such as marrying under the statute, the Marriage Act. And we explain the implications of marrying outside the act, like marrying under the customary law or marrying under the Islamic laws. So eventually our message gained ground. Women became better informed as of their rights, and they became more willing to demand, to enforce these rights, and to have adequate protection. But also we had cases in which we intervened because the law was breached, there was domestic violence. One of the most difficult problems we encountered is that it's not easy to come in between a husband and wife when there is a fight. But we must do this because it was necessary to protect the weaker parties, the women. And this resulted sometimes in cases involving arrest, involving representing women, in making sure they got adequate legal representation for divorce. And also to make sure that when we get into the divorce proceedings, that the rights of the woman and the rights of the children are adequately protected. It's been difficult. We made certain progress in the sense that we were able to defend and protect many women, and those we protected are very grateful. They speak of us today. In many places, they are full of praises. But at the same time, we offended people on the other side. In any legal dispute, there are people on both sides, and they are opposed to each other. They are in a state of conflict and dispute. So when you stand for one, that means logically that you stand against the opponent. So for every woman we helped, we made an enemy on the other side. So if we help 20 women, or if 20 women are satisfied with us because of services we rendered, because of the protection we provided, you can be sure that there are 20 men on the opposite side who are not satisfied with us. So this creates conflict and tension in society. And occasionally we have been under various forms of attack by those who are not satisfied by the roles we played in protecting their opponent. I want to emphasize that even though I had given the example of women, DPA is not limited to women. We help people purchase. And there have been quite a number of men who came to us seeking the protection of the law, and we have been able to provide that. As of this moment, looking at the DPA Family Clinic, 72% of our members there are women. So that means that we have overwhelming number of women in among our members, our followers, and it means that we take the interest of women very seriously, and we have been essentially very successful and effective. But as you know, we're not perfect. Sometimes mistakes we made. Sometimes we read situations differently, and we draw conclusions that may turn out not to be adequate. So, but one thing you have to understand is that to run an organization like DPA, you must be strong. You must be capable of taking the heat and the pressures that come with the nature of our service. And when these pressures come, sometimes they tend to weaken you. You begin to question yourself. They create what we call cognitive dissonance. That is, you begin to doubt yourself. You begin to say, oh my God, have I done the right things? Have I protected the right person? Have I, so we had all this. We go through these experiences, but the bottom line is that we have fundamental principles that we must keep to at all times. And such principles are, we must protect the weak. We must protect the vulnerable. We must avoid also being taken advantage of or abused. I had to give this explanation to re-emphasize our dedication to our work, our dedication to our mission. We are principled. Nothing is going to shake us. And as it happens to be, as the leader of DPA, I have had a very profound experience, both general experience in life, but also specific experience in training, and understanding of the law and the rules that apply in situations like this, and with significant experience in terms of our dealings with cases. In DPA, we have handled more than 1,000 cases in Nigeria alone in the past 9 years. And the implication of handling so many cases is that you gain experience. You begin to understand things you didn't know. And for me, I learn every day. If I tell you that I know it all, that is not true, because each case has its own unique experience. It has its own unique lessons to teach. So we approach these cases with determinations, but also with an open mind to learn, and with a preparedness to change our position if the facts change. So this happens. Now I will go on to the issue of the recent problems we had with our members. It was a very difficult situation. We faced a circumstance where we either had to keep quiet and our message will be destroyed and our reputation will be permanently tarnished, and we will become unable to deliver our work. But also, we might become perceived to be too weak to fight, because if you cannot save yourself, if you cannot fight for yourself, nobody will believe you could fight for him. So when DPA came under attack recently, we had no option but fight. We had no option but to counter the narrative that were being peddled against us. We didn't want those narratives to go unchallenged. Now, somebody may ask, how effective have you been in trying to challenge it? Didn't you end up making more enemies and annoying more people? That may very well be the case, but it was better for it to be said that they defended themselves, that they countered the narratives, instead of that they kept quiet. If we had kept quiet, by the way, the attacks against us would not stop. I knew that. If we had kept quiet, those attacking us would have perceived weakness. And once they perceived weakness, you would think they would pull back. No, on the contrary, they will just press on. And by the time you know it, you will be vanquished, overwhelmed, and completely destroyed. So we came in and fought. We made enemies, but the friends we made can trust us and be sure that this organization fought hard. This organization took on a very formidable force, which other people feared, but they took a very formidable force. And if they could fight hard, if they could fight for me as hardly as they fought for themselves, then I am okay. I am in safe hands. So we had to fight. We had to establish some points, and at the appropriate time, we decided to pull back because we believe we had proven what we needed to prove, which included proving that no, we are not a pushover. If you're a wife beater and you think that the DPA was vanquished, now you know that DPA doesn't back down. DPA is a hold fast. We're going to fight, we're going to protect ourselves, and we're going to defend those people we help. And now let me tell you something. As we speak to you now, do you know that DPA has more than 100 cases involving women in various stages of conflict resolution or court or litigation all over Nigeria? In the past 2 months, during which period DPA was under immense attacks, these people individually contacted me, and they will always say in great fear, oh, what happens, sir? What's going to happen, sir? What's going to happen to us? And I had to assure them they shouldn't worry too much about these setbacks and the fights, that DPA will be there for them. And I am happy that DPA stays strong and fought for them. I was also initially concerned about how would these things affect our staff, because people tend to forget that DPA is not about one person. As I speak to you today, DPA has about 40 employees in Nigeria alone. So these people were part of the social media milieu. They were listening to the discussions and the arguments and the debates. They are human beings. You are talking about their employment. You are talking about their employer. So they had concerns. So I was very worried about the possibility that the staff of DPA might become demoralized and as a result become unable to render their services with the same vigor and passion for which they were known. But I was very impressed when I landed in Nigeria and sampled opinions here in Abuja. Our staff in Abuja were very robust, they were buoyant, they were even laughing and making jokes about all that had happened. And I was very, very pleased because I was looking to see how this had affected them, how it affected their commitment to work, how it had affected their loyalty to leadership of DPA. But interestingly, and very much to my surprise, they were very, very strong, and it gave me courage to know, or rather to believe, that we made the right decision in standing up against what we perceive to be bullying. Okay? But that having happened, is now behind us. At least we are eager to put it behind us because we want to move forward. We have served DPA very well. We have served our members very well. We have provided for them things otherwise not available. We wouldn't want the events of the last 2 months to wipe out that history. We are still here to help you. Those of you who are members, you should know that there is no other organization like DPA in Nigeria in terms of vigor, in terms of determination, in terms of commitment to principles and our mission. So you should still come to DPA and understand that DPA will fight for you. DPA will defend you. And DPA has defended you. And DPA is getting better with the time. Before I end, let me address one issue that many people have raised very recently. They have been concerned on the issue of confidentiality. You know that DPA would never compromise your confidences. DPA has never done that. Our enemies have tried to smear us and make allegations, but in reality we haven't done so. Even in the recent case people talked about, we did not compromise confidentiality. What happened? Yes, a tension grew up and we disagreed in the open with our client, our member. We disagreed, but we still protected the vital confidential confidences that will help her. It was only necessary for us in the course of explanation to disclose what we did. We disclosed what informed our decisions. Because ordinarily, you will never know what cost us to do certain things. It is better for us to tell you the truth and regain your confidence that we acted properly than to keep mute. And you say they protected client members' confidences, but they are lousy. There was no way we will fail to explain what happened. And by the way, I emphasize, from the legal point of view, DPA never violated confidences. We never violated confidences. If I say something unpleasant about my client or my member, it doesn't mean it is a violation of confidence. For it to be a violation of confidence, the client must provide that information in confidence. That is something nobody else knows and tells you, please, nobody knows this, but this is what it is. And it has to be something that happened in the past. It cannot be something that is planned in the future. For instance, if a client walks into me and says, I killed somebody, yes, I can protect that confidence. But if a client walks up to me and says, I'm planning to kill somebody, the law requires me to protect that person he's trying to kill. And in protecting that person he's trying to kill, I have to warn him and let him know that somebody's planning to kill him. If I say I'm protecting client's confidence, and my client goes and kills that person, I'm in a much greater trouble than if I had warned that person and annoyed my client. We see this in medical scenarios as we're medical doctors. For instance, a spouse, a person has HIV, but their spouse doesn't know, and he doesn't want to tell his wife. Let's say a man has HIV, is HIV positive, but he doesn't want to tell his wife. The doctor knows. What do you think the doctor is going to do? Do you think the doctor is going to help the man hide his HIV status from his wife? No. He's under obligation to reveal that condition to his wife. Okay? He cannot just let it be. He has to be able to make sure that the wife is aware. So, please, you have to understand the meaning of confidentiality. It's not always what you think. Okay? And I have explained to people several times that if you have a dispute with your lawyer or your doctor, I say lawyer and doctor because your communication with them is confidential. So please do not go to social media to vent it. Don't. Go to the medical council or go to the bar association and report, because the medical council will conduct confidential investigation and the bar association will conduct the confidential investigation. He will be able to defend himself without revealing anything to the public. However, if you go on social media and make an allegation against your lawyer or your doctor, that will be unfortunate, because that must force that lawyer or that doctor to explain himself in the same medium where you presented your case. If you did it on social media, he will do it on social media. So it's very important thing, because I'm sure we're all learning. Many of you do not know the meaning of confidentiality. We use very generic term, okay? But when you get to law, it will require specific facts to show what constitutes confidentiality and whether there has been a breach thereof. Okay, having said that, I am sending a message to DPA members wherever they are. I noticed that we have significant members of DPA in Zambia. Zambia is a country so dear to me. In 1996, I was the Harvard expert sent to the country of Zambia to advise them on law and economic reforms. Then the president of Zambia then was Frederick Chiluba. I met Chiluba. He was a very nice, interesting man, and we had major discussions about reforming your country. I still have many people in Zambia that are friends of mine, especially two gentlemen I met at Harvard when I was a student and when I was working at Harvard. And, you know, I'm looking forward to coming back to Zambia, and we're going to have a good office of DPA in Zambia. And then Botswana. Botswana has 3.7% of our members are from Botswana. Botswana is also a very an interesting country. Your president, Duma Boko, was actually a year behind me at Harvard Law School. He graduated from Harvard Law School. I was already a graduate of Harvard Law School. I was already working at Harvard when Duma came for his postgraduate studies at Harvard, and we became friends. And though we haven't been in touch, when I learned that Duma became the president of Botswana, I was quite delighted. And I knew I'm going to be in your country very soon, and we're going to have a DPA office in your country. Likewise in South Africa. South Africa is a country I have had an extensive connection with. I was in your country also in 1996, then on a Harvard mission that brought me to your country, and I had very good relations with your former president, but then he was the deputy president. That was Thabo Mbeki. I had known Mbeki a long while ago, as far back as 1997. Through Victor Mantlu, who was the representative of ANC in West Africa, and he had office in they had an office in Nigeria. I met Mantlu, and through Mantlu I met Mbeki, and then early in 1996, Mbeki was at Harvard. We hosted him, and we reacquainted, and I was invited to South Africa. And your ambassador then to Washington was Ambassador Sun. Mbeki particularly called me and called Sun and told Sun to facilitate my trip to South Africa. So when I came to South Africa in 1996, it was a fantastic experience, and we worked together. And I met great professors like Professor, one of the professors at Wits, and we discussed law extensively. Some of these experiences are captured in my memoir, which will be released very soon. But I want you to know that, yes, there has been extensive experience. I have been around for some time. Unfortunately, many of you, all you know about me is what you saw on Facebook in the past 5 years, or whenever it was that you got to know about me on Facebook. But there was a history, okay, to it. And that's why I could refer to events in 1996 in South Africa when I met Mbeki and his team in Chiluba in Zambia in 1996, Mugabe in Zimbabwe also in 1996. And I could talk about similar encounter with Arap Moi in Kenya, with Rawlings in Ghana, with Museveni in Uganda. Okay, but that is by the way. In DPA, we are going to do a lot more to help you, okay? And we're here always for you. Thank you so much for listening.